Hello and welcome, shit lords and shit ladies and pid fuckers or shit lasses and shit lads or whatever else the social justice warriors are calling us today. For people who really want to bring peace and love into the world, they certainly have a lot of insults for their opposition. But anyway, welcome to Rantzerker 07. Purest green.
Nature's purest green is gold, don't you know?
All right, so I am joined by my fellow Rantzerker, Karen Strawn, and my name is Alison. I don't know if I've been saying that previously, so if you've been wondering who this was, yeah, this is me. I don't know if that helps. And her. Yeah, and her. Okay. All right, so do you want to get right into it, or we do have... you know what? We'll get right into it, and then we'll pause briefly for some mail. How's that?
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna do a screen share here. Oh shit! There we go.
Always a comedy of errors.
Yeah, it always is. Okay. So I'm gonna like set this back to 1 second because she talks so fast that you might actually miss something in that 1 second.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Here we go. We're diving right into it. I've taken my 4 extra strength Tylenol, drank that last little bit of wine. I'm ready. I didn't actually take that much Tylenol. It's bad for your liver to mix that with alcohol. But here we go.
Okay.
So, you're a feminist now.
No, I am not.
Yeah, I was wondering about this myself when I did this individually. When was this decided? Or is it just presumed that her audience is a feminist?
Well, I'm sure that the audience that she's pandering to are good little indoctrinated feminists, and the ones that get moderated out of the comments when possible are the ones who are not feminists. So essentially, yeah, we're all feminists now apparently, and yeah, we should just accept it, assimilate.
Well, they do.
Assimilate our distinctiveness into the female hive mind.
Yeah. Well, they do sort of suggest that anyone who's non-feminist, I'm not even going to say anti-feminist, just non-feminist like myself. I am a non-feminist.
I'm an anti-feminist, but I'm also a non-feminist, so there you go.
Yeah. They would say that someone like myself, a non-feminist, is actually immoral. And I've asked this of feminists. So as a non-feminist, I'm curious what level of force you would use to make me a feminist. Like, what are we talking? Brainwashing? Are we just talking a conversation over coffee, which has not worked yet because I don't see the rationality in feminism? Are we talking guns? Are we talking, re-education camps? So what level of force?
Are we talking like having, little 6- and 7-year-old kids in school being preached to by a teacher, and essentially told that this is the right way to think? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. So what are we talking? Like, how much can you? And this is something that actually Fiedelbogen posed to me, and I thought it was really clever. So shout out to Fiedelbogen. How much are you willing to tolerate the non-feminists in society? Feminists are, because it seems like you like to apply a lot of pressure, if not actual violent pressure, at least a lot of moral pressure, like you're morally superior to us.
Yeah, and anybody who is a non-feminist is actually intellectually bankrupt. That they just don't know, they just don't get it. There's something missing there. There's something missing in their brain, and you know what I think it is? I think it's like this parasitic brain slug that feminists have. Maybe that's what Steve Shives is hiding under his hat. But we're missing some kind of intellectual tool or skill or some kind of function of normal human empathy or something. We're missing something. We're deficient in some way if we're not feminist.
Mm-hmm.
Not just morally, but intellectually and sort of empathetically. We're missing.
I actually don't think feminists are missing anything. I think that what I'm finding is that watching smart people do the mental gymnastics to believe something that is
Yeah,
rather
there's
stupid.
more than enough. They have like it's how did Christopher Badcock put it when he talked about personality disorders is the reason they can only be diagnosed in adulthood is because normal social cognition has to be reached and then it has to be pathologically overdeveloped in order to turn into a personality disorder. So you have to reach your normal adult level of social cognition and then pathologically overdevelop that. And then all of a sudden you're overinterpreting people's intentions and you're seeing things that aren't there and you're becoming paranoid and you're having episodes of erotomania and delusions of persecution and you're experiencing magical thinking and all of these kinds of things that seem to be very, very common, not just in feminist individuals, but in the actual discourse, in the theory, right? It seems to be a lot of intentionality applied where it doesn't exist. You know, rhetoric about the rape of women isn't just men acting out as individuals, but it's all part of a concerted campaign to subjugate women and terrorize them into staying in their place and all of this kind of stuff, right? I mean, if Alex Jones proposed that rape was part of a concerted campaign on the part of all men to keep all women subjugated, people would call him a conspiracy theorist, right? Yet, you know, Catherine McKinnon and, you know, Susan Brown-Miller and all of these second waivers, Andrea Dworkin and all of the rest of them, they've managed to posit this and not be called out as paranoid lunatics.
Indeed. But let us get through this.
Okay. We're
It's like
2
10 minutes for the true seconds.
seconds in.
It's gonna get problematic up in here.
Yeah, it always is. Okay. I just want to draw attention to something. This show is called Braless. I can almost guarantee you Lacey Green is wearing a bra right now.
I know it's this like, yeah. But yeah, it's sort of a minor quibble. Except it does sort of call into question her authenticity and honesty. Period.
Yeah, I mean, like, braless, really?
What's up, everyone? Lacey Green here. Last week I checked out the VMA.
Oh, she is. See, I see her bra strap right here. Right here's her bra strap, and here's the edge of her shirt. Right, and here's her other bra strap. You can tell by the little plastic clip. Right there.
Yep.
And there's the other edge of her shirt sleeve. She's wearing a bra, people. She's a complete fucking fraud.
Yeah, well, I mean, because she could have, if she was worried about the attractive presentation of her breasts, she could have gone with like a corset.
Well, I think the idea of a bra isn't going to be like, you know, switching to a corset isn't going to, you know, necessarily be that's not an anti-bra position. That's a pro-bra position. But I mean, if you look at her breasts, they're large enough that really she does need to wear a bra. I can't imagine she'd be like, just with mine even, right? There's no way I could be comfortable without a bra on. And so, like, I'm not begrudging her the comfort of, you know, a lot of women with smaller breasts, given the architecture and engineering of bras, they find them very uncomfortable. But when compared with weighty things like Lacey Green's breasts, just kind of hanging all out there and
yeah, that's more uncomfortable.
It is. It absolutely is. So I'm not begrudging her wearing a bra. I'm just kind of wondering why she called her show Braless if she's going to wear a bra for everyone.
Well, I think she's trying to tie into that historic perception of girl power and sticking it to the man by not wearing a bra, which I think was a myth. But yeah.
Well, the burning of bras was, as far as I know, a myth. But, you know, like, I'm sure there were plenty of women who decided that they weren't going to wear constricting undergarments, no girdles, no more this, no more that. During women's liberation, they were like, fuck it. Yeah. And I'm going to let my armpit hair grow and my leg hair grow, whatever. I'm sure that
to send a message.
Yeah. Plenty
because
of.
That's what I read. I mean, because you're still considering like the paramount importance in all of this is what other people think.
True.
To send a message. Whereas in my case, I'm just fucking lazy. But I mean, I wanted to discuss a little bit more this pro versus con bra situation. So no undergarment for a woman that provides any support for the breasts. That would be a pro. Any undergarment that does that would be a pro bra position, you think?
Yeah, I think so. A corset, a sports bra, a regular bra, a push-up bra, a girdle.
How about duct tape?
Well, okay, if you were using duct tape to conceal your boobs so that you could like pass as a man, that would be different. Also, removing that would be really painful.
No, I've tried it. It isn't.
Really?
No, you just have to just sort of make it so the duct tape is not quite as sticky. Like you put it on a surface, you pull it off, and then
yeah, you get some dog hair on that shit, and it's just not that sticky. All right.
Yeah, exactly. So, but all right, let's continue because we do have to get through this.
Okay, I'm pretty sure most of our audience was unaware that you have ever duct taped your breasts, Alison.
Well,
now
or a part of my body, as it were.
Okay.
And well, it was definitely a new experience for me. I saw a lot of celebrities, aka very problematic people. Miley Cyrus was wearing dreadlocks.
In my original rebuttal to this, I had to point out that's a hairstyle. I assume what she's saying is that she's appropriating black people's hairstyles. Except I think that dreadlocks was also, I mean, dreadlocks are what your hair does when you don't brush it.
Yeah, it is. It's what people with hair longer than mine, what their hair does when you don't brush it. Essentially, if I were going to problematize this picture of Miley Cyrus, I think her dreadlocks would be the least problematic out of everything I'm seeing here.
I don't even know what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, no, I think the weird insinuation of these little nozzles that you blow up the letters, being, sticking out of her chest like kind of googly-eyed nipples. The fact that her dress looks like it's entirely made out of PVC, maybe, or some other kind of vinyl. The Miss Piggy snout and ears.
All I can say is that looks like it's incredibly uncomfortable.
The whole thing. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, I would. Congratulations, Miley Cyrus. You're really suffering for your, I don't want to say art.
Yeah, no.
Expression.
I don't even know if I've ever seen Lady Gaga in something quite that
insane.
Yeah.
Well, it's dedication anyway. I mean, could you imagine how much time it took to get into that?
Well, she would have had to have it probably specifically designed for her too, right?
Yeah.
So
I hope it has a zipper somewhere.
Oh, it'll have a zipper up the back, I'm sure. And the zipper will go all the way from the very top to probably over her butt, because otherwise squeezing into it would be just really, really painful and atrocious. But yeah, no, it's looking like this fabric, whatever it is, it just doesn't breathe, and it's, yeah.
But these are probably more mechanical, problematic issues. I think what she's going for is more moral. And personally, I don't find anything particularly morally objectionable about Miley Cyrus's outfit.
Yeah, no, it's not morally objectionable. It's just like, why would you do that?
I think she would fit in very well with the annual Liquid Bacon Festival in Saskatoon.
Is there such a thing as liquid bacon?
I'm not answering that.
Oh my goodness.
Okay,
that is problematic, Alison.
Taylor Swift preaches a feminism that's far from intersectional.
Her feminism, what?
Her feminism is far from intersectional, and that's problematic.
What does fucking intersectional mean anyway?
Intersectional means that the branch of feminism that is intersexual means that you consider issues of race and sexuality, like homo and heterosexuality and asexuality, and you consider transsexuality and all of these, and ableism and classism and all kinds of other intersections of oppression when you're also considering female oppression. So intersexual feminism is the basis of the progressive stack, where it's like the unemployed, black, transgendered, lesbian in a wheelchair who gets to speak first, right? Because she has the most intersections of oppression out of everyone in the crowd, right?
I can't help but notice that there still is one ring to rule them all.
Oh, yeah, male.
Well, yeah, male or female oppression, I guess.
Yeah,
it's the one ring.
Male privilege. Male privilege is the king daddy of original sin. Like this is why whenever I say, whenever I talk about male privilege, as feminists talk about it, and and I say feminists believe this about men and this about men, and then they say, well, that's not intersectional feminism. Intersectional feminism considers, that black men have issues because they're black. And I'm like, yeah, but apparently not because they're men, right? You still see men, the category male, as privileged in every situation over the category female. So as long as you consider that to be the case, all of this intersectional bullshit is just window dressing. It's like croutons and mandarin orange slices on a pile of lettuce, and now suddenly it's not a salad.
Right. Well, it's not just window dressing. It's sort of a vector to take all of the victimhood privilege. It's how women manage to, like, women like Lacey Green probably is quite well off at this point in time, and white, and probably has experienced very little deprivation in her life aside from criminal activity, which is something that we can all be subject.
Look at her upper arms. I don't think she's going hungry. And I'm not saying that to body shame her. I'm just saying that she's not going hungry.
And she's also not a laborer, so she's not using her body and slowly destroying it just to make a living. But what I was getting at is that intersectionality allows someone like her to essentially appropriate whatever benefit that other groups that are perhaps more marginalized can get from being recognized as victims. So it's sort of like her way. Intersectionality is the conduit by which the very, very, very privileged get yet another resource from the underprivileged.
Well, and it's another way where they can speak for those they consider to be less well off than themselves. I mean, it's just like the upper class women, primarily in England during the Industrial Revolution, putting, lobbying for huge restrictions on child labor and things like that, because the way they framed it was that these poor people didn't know any better than to exploit their children and put them in danger. Like these, obviously poor people don't love their children. And obviously the best thing for these children who are, along with their families, depending on the income that they earn in order to be able to eat and have a roof over their heads, the best thing is to prevent those children from being able to do that, and being able to help feed their families and therefore themselves, right? So it's better for these kids to go hungry than it is for them to work in a factory, right? Which kind of, it's this really haughty attitude about this holier than thou attitude about, well, we know how to love our children and we have to impose our rules on how to love our children on the lower classes, in such a way that it actually may end up in a greater net harm than good, because now instead of kids working, you have kids starving.
Yeah. Well, what the relationship I see to this is that feminists, particularly white, rich, wealthy female feminists, certainly have a lot of words to dismiss and disparage minorities who do not agree with them.
Oh yeah. Sock puppet.
Whip and carrot here. Let's well, not just sock puppet, like Uncle Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Internalized racism, internalized misogyny, internalized, I don't know, transphobia, like everything that they use on men, they also use on the minorities who don't toe the line as well. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Carrying on.
Weekend calls women bitches and hoes. What's
Oh my goodness. Listen, bitch, don't be a hoe.
Okay.
So what? So what? So what? Some guy raps or does hip hop and calls women bitches and hoes. I mean, like, what names do we have for men? Right?
Pricks, dicks, cocks,
bastards, douchebags, douche balloons, douche nozzles, creepy, misogynist, rape apologist, fucking chauvinist.
Yeah. Well, but all of those those labels that are negative towards men, they're justified. Because women have the right. Women have the right to judge men, but men do not have the right to judge women.
I forgot. No woman ever behaved like a bitch. No woman ever behaved like a hoe.
Not
and
possible.
if she did, that's perfectly within her rights, and she should never be judged by, for that.
Ugh. Oh yeah, let's keep going.
The girl to do with the VMAs. A lot of people in the anti-feminist camp tell me that they.
I like this guy. I do. I like this guy because he's a man who is willing to express his emotions.
Yeah.
And that's what feminism tells men that they should be able to do, right? So it seems kind of strange. Here he is in front of a log cabin, okay, which is essentially saying he's regressive and he's like wanting to turn back the clock, okay? And yet he's not exhibiting the stoicism that was expected of masculinity back then. He's actually complying with feminist norms. He's showing his displeasure. He's showing his upset. He's having a tantrum, right? Men are supposed to be allowed to do this under feminism. They're supposed to be allowed to share their emotions.
Oh, sorry, I was just distracted by the biceps and the shoulders. What were you saying?
Oh, he has really nice forearms too.
Yes.
All right,
he does.
Carrying on.
Find the problematic analysis a big turnoff. Feminists and non-feminists.
I like how the juxtaposition of this very thoughtful, very attractive, very mature-looking woman just kind of pondering the of particle physics or string theory, along with intersectionality and problematization, right? And here's this guy who's like, he's just like, I'm not happy, me. Like, could we be any more obvious in our stereotypes? Could we possibly? I mean, like, okay.
I want to see a picture of him without making the face.
Why don't we put like Big Red here?
Yeah.
We'll put Big Red here, mid tirade, and then we'll put like me.
Yeah.
Me. Put me here. Smiling and talking to Theron Meyer in my interview with her last night.
Oh, hell, put Theron Meyer there.
Yeah, excellent. Put Theron Meyer there. Just kind of smiling and friendly and thoughtful.
Calm.
And calm. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't go there because I identify as a non-feminist, not an anti-feminist. Although I imagine that in Lacey's parlance, that means I'm an anti-feminist.
Of course, because if you're not with us, you're against us, right?
Yeah, probably.
Anyhow, let's move on.
Okay.
Told me that they feel like they're not allowed to enjoy anything anymore. Okay.
Yeah, kind of. We feel like we're not allowed to, like, every pleasure is a guilty pleasure. It's gone from me seeing Xena Warrior Princess as a guilty pleasure just because of the bad writing and the bad production values. And it wasn't even the bad writing, it was the bad dialogue, right? And the bad acting and the bad production values, right? But okay, I enjoyed it. It's part of me really enjoyed that show, right? And part of the reason I enjoyed it was because it was campy and it had a sense of humor about itself, right? But now I'm probably not allowed to enjoy that show because even though I considered it a guilty pleasure before, now me enjoying it probably harms women in some way.
Yeah. But I'd like to point out that you're right. Those are very stereotypical. And it doesn't, like, this stereotype that she's presenting doesn't really bear out because most of the times when you see feminists, they've either got a shit-eating grin of smug contempt on their face or
a police officer.
Or they're screaming at someone. That's my experience from or they're Lacey Green talking too fast.
Yeah, talking so fast, and this is what they do. This is what I've noticed with, my deconstruction of Mike Rignetta's video, of our dissection of Waldo's video, of this video. The amount of times we have to pause every 5-10 seconds, sometimes even just 2 seconds in, because they talk so quickly. And the reason, I can't help but think that the reason that they talk so quickly is because they're just going to just bombard you with a thesis. They're going to bombard you with unsubstantiated claims. And by the time you've even had enough time to wonder, I wonder what the proof is for this. Then they're on into the next one. And so it just goes into the back of your head as something that isn't really questionable because you didn't have time to question it. You didn't have time to process it and question it and say, okay, is this actually true? So because of that, it gets filed in the, in the uncontroversial claims folder of your brain, right, of your hindbrain, and you don't examine it any further because we've already moved on to the next thing. We did that 5 seconds ago.
Yeah. That's speaking of 5 seconds ago, let's get 5 seconds into the future.
Okay.
We need to talk about that. When feminists say something's problematic, they're usually referring to words, behaviors, ideas, tropes, stereotypes, and so forth that are factually inaccurate and ultimately harm women.
Did you see that? Did you see that, Tell?
Harm women.
Yes.
This harm women. The text says harm others.
No, she means women. This is the thing.
I know she means women, but the text says harm others.
I know, but this is sort of a tell.
Oh, yeah.
They always mean women. All of the feminist wormholes always pop out on women. It's almost as if women like Lacey Green have something to hide. And they're hiding behind the victimhood of others.
They are, but let's take it back one more second and see how. Okay. Okay. Sorry. One a little bit more.
I'm not sure what you're thinking you're going to find.
That are factually inaccurate. Okay.
And ultimately harm women.
Okay. So, calling a woman a bitch is problematic because it is factually inaccurate. No woman has ever been a bitch. Certainly not the woman that you're calling a bitch right now.
Ultimately, everything, what is problematic is anything that harms women in their parlance. Or anything that harms women.
Or annoys them or calls them out on their behavior or, yeah.
Does like the thing is it's only and you can only allow those men who are part of another group. So essentially what they're doing is they're saying that the only measuring stick that we can measure the morality of society by is harm to women. That's it. Because if they'll only acknowledge harm to men if men fall into categories unrelated to being male.
Yeah, like, no, you can. A black man can be harmed because he's black. A gay man can be harmed because he's gay. A Muslim man can be harmed because he's Muslim. But not because he's male.
No. Okay, no. So everything, essentially what she's saying is the world has to be judged by how it acts upon women.
Yeah.
That's it. That basically, and there can be no consideration about how the world acts upon men, unless we use intersectionality to redirect the focus onto some other aspect of their maleness,
of their identity. Yeah,
of their identity. Sorry. Okay, let's keep going.
Color, the LGBT community, and so forth. Let me first say the practice of talking about problematic shit is a crucial part of doing feminism. We have to identify harmful behaviors and words to actively discourage them.
How are you like this goes back to the very beginning when I said, what is your method for dealing with us non-feminists, Lacey?
Yeah, and problematic people.
Yeah, and other problematic people. Like what's your method? You're going to discourage them. What force are you going to use to do so? Because I can tell you that so far, using the force of reason has not worked on myself. And I imagine that with all of your sense of moral supremacy over us, eventually you're going to justify some other tactics.
Yeah. No, this is where it comes down to somebody even saying that I'm not a, I agree with everything you say, but I consider myself an egalitarian, and just being like just rabidly attacked. Or someone like Lady Gaga saying, I'm not a feminist. I love men, right? I adore men. And the claws come out and all of a sudden she's ripped to shreds in the press and she has to justify it. David Cameron, same thing. I'm not going to wear that shirt, and I'm thinking he's probably really glad he didn't, given the scandal that occurred, considering that was made in a sweatshop populated by women who were being paid 16 pence an hour or something like that.
What shirt? What shirt are you referring to?
This is what a feminist looks like shirt, and all kinds of British MPs were convinced by a feminist group to wear this shirt for photo opportunities, and David Cameron said, yeah, no. And the reason is that I just really don't like labels. I don't like labeling myself as anything, right? And he was called on the media carpet. It was demanded that he explain himself and what he meant by that and all of this other shit, right? How can you be unwilling to wear this shirt and declare your allegiance to feminism, right? Even if, and you say you agree with equality, right? And you're all for women's equality, but you're not a feminist, like, explain yourself. Yeah, and then it came out afterwards that these shirts were made by like a troupe of women from the island of Mauritius in India, I believe, who were sleeping like 18 to a fucking room and were earning like 6 pence an hour or something like that. Or
well, it certainly is what a feminist looks like.
£1.60 a day or something insane. So yeah.
A hollow sentiment backed up by no real genuine care for anyone, including women.
Mm-hmm.
That is what a feminist looks like. Okay.
It really is.
So it's a more just and equal world. So
more just. Sweatshops are just.
Keep your eyes open.
Okay, wait. I want to go here. This is where I'm digging in. This is where I'm making my stand. A more just and equitable world, Lacey. Well, us non-feminists would like to have a say in the moral landscape that rules us. Are you going to give us a say in that? Is there going to be a table? Are we going to get to sit down and decide what that moral landscape looks like? What we're expected to adhere to more? Do we have any say in the moral code that you are spraying out into the world? Because no taxation without representation.
And I just want to use that no taxation without representation thing to remind everyone that the tax-resistant societies during the suffrage era were claiming no vote, no tax for women, yet women had no obligation to pay taxes at that time. At that time, all of their property tax and all of their income tax, even if they had more property and income than their husbands, was payable by their husbands out of their husband's income at that time. And if the women didn't pay it and the man couldn't afford to pay it, he went to jail for tax evasion. If he couldn't afford to pay it after paying for everything else that the family needed, right, his wealthy wife would be untouchable and he would go to prison for tax evasion. So no vote, no tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to take a letter?
Yes.
Okay. Let's do this thing. We'll annoy the crap out of the people listening.
Okay, if you hear any whining, yelping, or barking, that's me killing my dog, because somehow anytime I talk to my computer, she thinks that I'm like ready to let her out.
All right, so Goth Navy Wife writes, I love everything you do, but I'm a little confused as to whether Karen or Alison is the Rantzerker, because both of you get into some epic rants. May I suggest switching the title to The Rantzerkers, plural, instead? Both of you deserve credit for rantzerking.
Okay. I think that's just a semantic argument. I think that's just pedantic. That's I mean, I am Rantzerker. Alison is Rantzerker. Together we are the Rantzerker Ultra.
I guess we could call it that.
Rantzerkers? I don't know. There might be days when I don't feel like ranting.
Yep.
And when you do a lot of yelling, and there might be days when you're like really calm and I do a lot of yelling. So I don't know. Maybe we should consider that. But I don't think it's something to consider.
Oh, and I think I made a mistake on who to attribute this to. It is instead SK. I apologize. All right. Okay. So Shinra Kuroki inquires, I love the show so far, but I do wonder how sustainable it is. I watch a few channels like that to critique social justice warriors, feminists, and religious nuts, and I notice that eventually they start repeating themselves. Despite how multicultural and diverse these intellectual pygmies claim to be, it seems that a lot of their arguments are cookie cutter, straight out of the recycle bin, talking points. Do you guys worry that you'll soon start repeating yourselves as you cover smiling arguments ad nauseum, or similar arguments ad nauseum? Will you cover other topics if the anti-MRA barrel starts running dry?
You know, I have actually, that's probably one of the biggest reasons why my original content has slowed down, is because there's just not that much new for me to say. And I feel like I'm sort of going over the same territory over and over and over and over again. But one of the things that Alison let me know and kept reassuring me of is that even if it's not new to my audience, it's going to be new to somebody. Mm-hmm. And so it's important to keep the videos coming. It's important to keep the content coming, because you will always have new people arriving at different videos at your channel, who are going to maybe work their way backwards through your content, or they're going to click on things randomly in your, repertoire of videos, and the content that may be stale to the core audience may be new to those newcomers. And it's just if they can find that very easily, the ideas, the rebuttals, all of that stuff, right? Then really, there's nothing new under the sun.
Well, the other thing is that we didn't come, like a lot of the other channels to come into this sort of came with started with the criticism of feminist theory and feminism and what they put out on the internet. This channel, in particular, comes with, or you and me, we started not with necessarily the rage or the criticism specifically of specific feminist videos. We started with this looking into the issues, looking deeper into why this happens and what's going on. We started with the more, well, you with more I think, evolutionary psychology perspective, me for more philosophical and sociological. But just sort of delving into why are we here? Because these are just symptoms of a greater issue. Why are we here?
Yeah.
Why did we get to this point?
Get to this place?
Yeah. And what are the factors in the underlying, movements that are causing this to erupt? And I think because we went ideas first. We didn't start with the anger and this is bullshit, this is wrong, this is incorrect. We started with why are smart people trying to believe stupid things?
Yeah.
Why are we here at this point? We went really much more deep under the foundation. I think that's going to take a while before we run out of ideas, because we were ideas people first. Then we went into the anger. So, and the reactionariness, because personally, I this is fun for me. This isn't necessarily what I want to be doing. What I would like to do, and eventually like to get to the point of doing, I don't know if it'll ever be possible for me, is actually creating technology that enables us to unite an abstract language with our sense of touch. Because our haptic sense is probably the most, it has the greatest level of processor ability of all of our senses. And not only that, it's the most fundamental. You can live without your sense of smell. You can live without your sense of taste. You can live without your hearing, your eyesight, but you cannot live without touch. It is literally the highest. It has the highest bus. It has the highest bandwidth of all of your senses and the greatest ability to process. So if you could imagine being able to process information with your greatest input-output sense, holy shit, this would be incredible. And that's where I want to go. That's what I want to do. And this has absolutely nothing to do with the Rantzerker, but I'm just saying I don't think I'm going to run out of ideas anytime soon.
All right.
Okay. let's go back to Lacey.
Oh God, do we have to?
Do you want me to talk more about my idea?
No. It's okay. Back to Lacey.
Even when they're challenging and uncomfortable. That said, we are living in times of rapid communication. Hello, internet. On the web, I found that people are either queens or scum. We're either.
What the? Is this referring to something that I have no clue of?
No idea. No idea. Let's keep listening and find out if it's.
Or fangirling. We speak the language of 140 characters.
So you're either an outrage queen or you're fangirling.
A rebloggable picture.
Why is fangirling scum?
No idea.
Because that's really fucking awful. Like I like people. If you're listening to the God, look at that expression on her face. If you're listening to this and you're a young girl who really enjoys something, if you're a fangirl, you're not scum.
No.
Jesus, Lacey.
Yeah. No. And okay. And look at she's like Twitter. 140 characters or less, or something that can be expressed in a meme.
6-second Vine. There's no.
Or Vine, a 6-second Vine, and there's no. Okay, but. Look at her video, 3 minutes.
Yeah, what the hell can you express in 3 minutes, Lacey?
Fucking minutes. How on earth can you get across anything complex or nuanced in 3 fucking minutes? Right? And I see this all the time. I see this all the time in feminist videos, right? They're like I said, they talk very, very quickly so that you don't have time to think about one point before we're on to the next one, right? And I swear I'm going to kill my fucking dog. And you just, and then it's over. And you've just been bombarded with all of these claims, none of which have any evidence to support them, right? And you just had them thrown at you within the space of like 2 or 3 minutes. And now we're done, right? And you're integrating all of that into your worldview.
Yeah, you're probably dreaming about it at night. Well, I mean, we do actually make claims that we probably should source in the low bar, even though we've done a lot of writing on these issues in our blog. So that's where the usual resources are.
Yeah, actually, what I was thinking is we should actually have a separate page on the website just for sources, just for citations.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. That way we
down by category, break them down by what they say. This one says that the majority of male rapists have heterosexual abuse in their childhoods or adolescence, right? And these, these citations say this, and these citations say that, and these citations pertain to this. And I think that would actually be a really valuable resource to have for people, and then we could just link to the page. And have it all there for them. And that would be something that I don't want to actually work on putting together, but maybe if somebody had some spare time, that would be a worthwhile project to have them, sort of create and update and maintain.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Room for nuance or gray areas, but it's in the.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
I know.
Really think your ridiculous little 3-minute video, not even 3 minutes, like 2 minutes of actual content video has any nuance area for nuance and also I would believe that you gave a shit about nuance and gray area if you allowed anyone who wasn't feminist to have an opinion on this moral code that you're fucking expecting everyone to adhere to.
Well, I don't think Lacey is quite as bad as, but I might be wrong, quite as bad as Anita as far as, shutting comments off and things like that. I don't recall her. I mean, I suppose I could look and let me just look and see. No, there's comments allowed. There's comments allowed on this video. Isn't that amazing? There's a nice, healthy number of dislikes, and I'm sure there's some,
Yeah. Mine is the first comment there.
But essentially, so she's not quite as bad.
No.
That doesn't necessarily mean that she's actually looking at any of those comments or reading any of them, reading any of the criticism, reading any of the questions, reading any of the people who are challenging her ideas.
But the thing is that she's still applying a moral code that she expects people to submit to without having any say in it, especially anybody who's outside of her ideological, circle.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's great. She has comments. She allows people to upvote and downvote her video. But she's like that. The problem is that she's talking about a moral code that nobody else gets any input into except unless they're pre-selected.
Yeah.
All right. My God, you got a lot of tabs there. You're a tab hoe.
I closed off like 10 tabs before we came on.
Yeah.
I seriously did.
That our complexity as human beings lies. The truth is, literally everyone and everything is problematic. The search for feminist...
Feminist problematic.
Yeah. No, she doesn't ever comes to that conclusion. She never, because like all feminists, she never asks herself, do my feminist beliefs hurt women? Are my feminist beliefs problematic? Everything else in the world is problematic except for feminism. Because if you took this to its logical conclusion, Lacey, if you actually took what you just said to its logical conclusion, you should be questioning your own beliefs. And you should be questioning your own video. Is Lacey Green problematic? Is what I'm doing here problematic? Is reducing everything down to somehow victimizing women, because intersectionality allows that, you first go, dreadlocks oppress Black people because it's appropriating their culture, even though everybody's hair goes into dreadlocks if you don't comb it. It's appropriating their culture. That oppresses Black people. And then you do the intersectionality, whoop, 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 a wormhole, and somehow that is also oppressing women because it oppresses Black people. Who knows how that works, but it does. I mean, I've seen it so many times. Women like Lacey Green, like Katie, or the one in the Oxford debate, apparently wasn't debating seriously, but whatever. She will append all of this selection of victimhood. Oh, Eve Elzer, selection of victimhood from other groups and other people. She will append it to herself in order to make her claims of victimhood seem credible. And that is like, I have no fucking clue where I'm going with this anymore.
No. And honestly, as far as problematic ideas and stuff like that, look at what Anita Sarkeesian said at the Sydney. At the Sydney Opera House. She said, some women can make patriarchy work for them, but every choice a woman makes is a choice that has been pre-approved by patriarchy. And then she never once considers, so perhaps my choice to become a feminist is part of patriarchy.
Yeah, my choice to abdicate all agency as a woman to this ideal of damseling, and subsequently presenting men as being all powerful and potent, that definitely wouldn't appeal to men in a patriarchal mindset. Like, no. Seriously. The problem is that here's where they get out of thinking that way. And it goes exactly to what you were saying, I think a couple Rantzerkers ago. They don't realize that men in a patriarchal mindset don't hate women. Yeah, they want to protect them. Yeah. And sometimes they want to protect them way more than they want to give them freedom, which is why you get all of the oppressive laws that are oppressive social customs that restrict women's freedom, because men want to protect them.
And those I mean, like, there is nothing brutal and horrible and violent about a burqa. I mean, there's just like, it's a garment, right? The expectation to wear a garment. Okay, the expectation that I'm not going to walk down the street naked, like completely, totally buck. The expectation that my boyfriend isn't going to parade with no pants on and no underwear on, back and forth behind me while I'm filming a video. That expectation is not harming him.
No.
Right? So the expectation that people dress a certain way, right? The expectation that my boyfriend needs to wear a tie to work, right? That's, how can you call that oppression? It's just an expectation based on his role at that job. Now, if women and men in patriarchal cultures have expectations as to what they wear based on their roles the assigned role isn't even necessarily inflicting a harm, right? It's not like the assigned role of a slave in the Deep South in the 1700s, where you're forced to freaking work, and if you don't, you end up with like scars up and down your back.
Indeed. Like, and And but you, as you were saying before, they don't see what they call oppression coming, because they don't realize it comes from a place of trying to protect women.
Yeah,
So
no.
she doesn't realize that she's actually what she would term a patriarchal mindset. By playing the damsel and playing up men's power to save women, you are buying into that, and you are eventually going to justify those very same men saying, hey, I'm prioritizing your safety over your freedom, Lacey. Guess what? You don't get to drive anymore.
I'm the protector, so I know what's good for you. And this is really the thing. You cannot obligate men to protect women and have women remain autonomous. You cannot do it.
So all of this he for she shit and feminist ally shit and men need to protect women shit and put women first shit and men are responsible for society as it stands, blah, blah, blah. All of this shit buys into that. It buys into that eventually men are going to have to say, okay, well, if we're going to keep women safe, we can't allow them autonomy. So you're not going to be able to.
Because otherwise, a man's very existence boils down to a never-ending fucking replay of get him to the Greek. Right? Get him to the fucking Greek. Get this freaking insane, random, chaotic, freaking absolutely unreliable celebrity. Get that celebrity from point A to point B at a certain time without anyone dying, right? Do it, but the guy doesn't have to listen to a single fucking word you say. Yep. Does not have to obey you, does not have to listen to you, does not have to take your advice. You can't make him do anything, but you're responsible to get him to the Greek.
Well, it's even more like simple than that. It's not just that men need the ability to take away women's autonomy to keep them safe. It's that they will privilege women's safety. If you continue to play the role of damsel, you are essentially saying to men that the most important thing,
to emphasize the peril that women live under every single fucking day of their lives.
You are emphasizing to men that the most important thing is women's safety. And eventually, if there's ever a situation where men have to make a choice between your safety, and since you've damseled and damseled and damseled and damseled an enormous ball of, oh, women's safety is paramount, women's safety is paramount, and men are totally responsible for it. If you keep doing that, eventually there will come a choice between your autonomy and your safety, and men will choose your safety. Now, if you start to recognize how women have the ability to shape society in a very powerful and meaningful way, and you get men to start to realize that women need to take responsibility for that, women will have to retain their autonomy because they have to protect men.
Well, at the very least, they have to protect themselves.
Yeah, but they also have to protect men from themselves. You see, if you get men to recognize that women have a powerful effect on society, that's not what's going to take away women's freedoms, because that doesn't change. That won't change. But the expectation that women take responsibility for that requires women's autonomy, because otherwise the responsibility goes to men. But if men can't actually successfully oppose that power that women have, they're fucked.
Yeah.
So and if we get the world to recognize both the power and the fact that men cannot take responsibility for, women have to take responsibility. That means women need to retain their autonomy, because their autonomy ensures that they take responsibility. There you go. All right. I think that's understandable. I don't know. People will say in the comments if it isn't.
It is to me, and that's all that matters.
All right.
Cause burnout because there's no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. All of us.
Okay, so what? We're supposed to engage in this bullshit for nothing?
Yeah. There will never be a point where feminists have won.
Yeah, well, not just that, but we have to actually constantly reduce everything down to how it harms us. And at the end of the day, we get nothing. Well, of course we get nothing out of it.
Yeah.
Feminism is essentially said to women, or Lacey has said to women, engage in feminism, get absolutely butt-kiss nothing out of it, except a headache. Well, great, you're selling it well.
She's been
Excellent.
born into a culture that teaches us toxic behaviors and words that actively harm other people. So it should come as no surprise that amazing things in this world, books and movies, TV shows, music, and people, are also flawed. They can be both at the same time. To improve, we need to
Who
encourage.
decides what the flaws are?
I can't really disagree with her. People can be amazing and they can be flawed.
Yeah, but she's also saying that feminism gets to decide what's flawed.
Yeah, of course. Feminism gets to decide everything. So there you go. I thought you knew that, Alison.
Yeah.
Damn it. Like, how many times do I have to fucking tell you, Alison? Feminism gets to decide.
In our dialogue, we have to actively unlearn racism, sexism.
Oh.
Unlearn. Right. Okay. And some people might draw parallels between this whole idea of unlearning and taking the red pill, right? Taking the red pill doesn't mean you unlearn anything. It just means you have a new layer of awareness over top of everything else. You have a new layer of awareness of what's really going on top of what's going on, right? You're not unlearning things. You're learning new things and then
recontextualizing the old.
Yeah, recontextualizing and integrating those new things into your overall picture, right? You're not unlearning things. You're not wiping your fucking memory banks. You're not like,
I find it very creepy.
Yeah, no, it is. It is very, like, look at this woman's brain. Look, this is your brain. Seems very lopsided. Look at the shape of her head.
I know. I was thinking that myself.
Because her brain seems kind of not right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the thing is that you say you have to unlearn stuff, but this feminism fundamentally offers no insight into anything. Like reducing women down to victims, and I dare you to point to any feminism that isn't about reducing women down to victims of everything or anything or any specific thing, or making sure women retain the primary central role as victim because they're women. Like, I dare you to show any feminism. People who are listening to this, people in the comments, present some feminism, some feminist thought, some feminist writing, anything that doesn't actually reduce women down to victims. That isn't insightful. Any more than a fucking baseball bat to the face is insightful. The feminists are not adding to the corpus of human knowledge and understanding of ourselves. They're just creating a bigger bludgeon to hit people with.
Yeah, no, they're taking all of the old tropes and then they're just spinning them in a way that's most profitable to feminists. Yep. Right? There's huge money. Like, just ask anyone in the ask any woman who's the director of a domestic violence shelter in Canada, right? How much money she's making, right? And this in an industry that's constantly begging for more money, that's constantly doing events to raise more money, that's constantly lobbying the government to get more money because there's not enough money, right? And yet this director of this domestic violence shelter earns over $200,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Just to run a domestic violence shelter. Right? There's huge amounts of profit to be made from portraying women as victims. And there's huge amounts of power and prestige and status that come from that. There are professorships and academic papers that are peer reviewed by people who all think the same way you do. And there's all kinds of, and there's speaking engagements, and there's all kinds of status as far as I'm someone who should be listened to. There's all kinds of profit, both fiduciary and emotional and psychological, all kinds of profit in peddling this narrative for the people who can really do it well and make it profitable. Oh, I wonder what Lacey Green's income is this year.
Okay, we're in the home stretch.
Okay.
Phobia, transphobia, ableism, and all manner of oppressions. And that is a lifelong process.
What? look.
I know.
Look at the text. Look at the text. All manner, like a manor house, like a seat, the seat of the family. You know, the family seat, the manor house out in the country on the moors of Scotland. It's our manor house of oppressions.
I knew that would trigger you.
Oh my God! Like, who wrote this? Who did this? Who produced this? And not only that, even if it was manner in the way it should be, it's still grammatically incorrect. It should be all manner of oppression, not all manner of oppressions. Or it could alternatively be all manners of oppression, but not all manner of oppressions.
Why didn't she just put types, all types of oppression?
That makes no grammatical sense whatsoever. F minus, Lacey.
Okay.
Just because of that. I'm sorry, I'm a grammar Nazi and a spelling Nazi.
Why should you be sorry?
Like,
grammar is well, actually, you're right. Grammar is now patriarchal. Well, always was.
My editor, my female editor of my dirty books written for women that were well reviewed by feminist reviewers, thank you very much. She said my manuscripts were the cleanest she had ever seen. I was the least work she had ever encountered as far as authors go, right? I reserve the right, given that high praise, I reserve the right to give you a big fat fucking F.
All right.
Just over this, just over that.
Yes, in that process, we can absolutely digest media in a way that allows joy and entertainment of the overall person or media while rejecting its harmful aspects. It's important to acknowledge problematic aspects and not make excuses for them, then initiate the discussion about what could and should change.
Oh my God. You know one thing I don't do? Well, actually one thing my husband has trained me out of doing is actually pointing out problematic shit in media. Like Lacey is saying, oh my God, look at this trope, look at what, and he's like, shut up, woman.
Yeah, no, it's nitpicky and it ruins everybody's enjoyment.
Yeah. So I just save it. Well, actually, you know, I've how have I dealt with this? I just write my own shit. Like I'm like, okay, I'm squirreling away that annoyance, and I'm going to write something to correct it.
Yeah.
And if people like it, if people get like there's something that I started watching yesterday called Longmire. And I'm like, my God, like the first episode is this totally stilted, cliched, stereotypical view of sex work. Like, I mean, it shows like a bunch of underage girls being pimped out from like an RV on, whatever. And I'm like, wow, that's, first of all, very, very few street kids have pimps, and half of them are men or boys.
Yep.
And if you get up to the level like escorts, people with a little bit higher, not streetwalkers, but escorts who tend to be a bit more upscale. Well, first of all, let's just keep that to the streetwalkers, the street kids who are being sexually exploited. 50% of them, according to a survey in Vancouver, are exploited by women. 70% by men, but 50% by women, which is significant.
Yeah.
And no survey has found a significant level of girls being pimped by men. And the other thing is, so where are in this Longmire's portrayal of essentially what would be street kids, like runaways being sexually exploited, where are the boys?
Mm-hmm.
Where are the women sexually exploiting the kids? And why are we using this outdated stereotype of a pimp? You're better off with a madame. That would probably be more accurate.
Oh yeah, no, even Fanny Hill, written in the freaking 16 or 1700s, the people who were trapping young women into prostitution were women. Yeah,
but here's the thing. And the other thing is that escorts, when you're looking at higher, not street kids being exploited, you're looking more at women who are independent business women who decide upon their clients. Apparently, most of them, I've heard this out of Australia, are their clients are disabled. So we're targeting groups of disabled people who want to have a sex life. And this is how they do it. They want to have human intimacy. And they do it by employing prostitutes. And these are the people that disabled people who want to have human intimacy. And it's not, sex workers say it's not just about the sex.
No.
It's about the human intimacy. A lot of times it isn't even about sex at all. It's about feeling like you have a companion who is going to be emotionally intimate with you like someone who's having sex would be with you. Yeah. And so all of this anti-prostitution stuff in media and in stories is actually hurting people who are disabled and aren't able to have those connections. Yeah. And it's just like all of this problematic, like as Lacey would say, problematic depiction. Oh, of course, she wouldn't find it problematic because it was all the right stereotypes.
That's right.
And I'm like watching this, I'm like, well, you know, I did like some of the stuff that Longmire was doing, but this is stereotype and it's inaccurate. But what am I going to do? I'm going to just not continue to watch it because the writing is shit. This is shit writing. You want to write about a subject? You research it. Don't just rely on lazy stereotypes.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to look at it morally. I'm just going to look at it in terms of utter laziness. These writers are lazy. And lazy writers don't write well. You know, and even if you say, well, the subject matter is socially uncomfortable, we can't actually deal with it realistically because people blah, blah, blah. Whatever. If you're a good writer, you can make it palatable.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of writer I want to read. And that's the kind of TV I want to see. I want you to take a real hard, good look at society and what's really happening and somehow make that palatable. That's the kind of stuff that I want to see. Interesting stuff. Like stuff that's challenging. But I'm not going to be like, I don't know, having discussions with people about what I don't like about Longmire. I'm just going to write what I like, or I'm going to seek out what I like.
Yeah, no.
Like hold and catch fire. Yeah, bitches, hold and catch fire. All right.
You're not gonna write to the producers of Longmire and say, I will never watch this network again.
I might if I was feeling particularly salty, but then my husband would like, don't do that.
Yeah, no, it's nice to actually have a significant other who reins in your most rampant impulses, for sure.
All right. Okay.
All right. Okay, we have just a little bit more to go.
Yep.
Spirit of encouraging learning and growth rather than judgment and shame.
Rather than judgment and shame. Okay. All right.
Well, okay, fine. You can encourage learning and growth, but yeah, no, I don't feel like listening to you, Lacey. What are you going to do then? And actually, I entice everybody who's in Lacey's audience to not listen to her as well, because she's not going to use judgment and shame. So what else have you got? What have you got?
Unlearning.
Yeah, well, fucking creepy.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have positive spaces for people to make steps toward change. If they feel overly criticized, they tend to shut down. I've also found that it's important to create positive spaces for myself, which sometimes means zoning out and taking a break from feminist analysis. It should never become an all-consuming shadow on life. That just...
Why? Okay, if you need to take a break from it, yeah, I understand if you're dealing with... Okay, I sometimes have to take a break from men's issues. That's because it's really horrifying how little compassion we have for men and the problems that they face.
Yeah.
I don't need to take a break. I don't ever need to take a break from analyzing media and the context of how it depicts men. Like, I'm not going to take I don't, like, personally, I don't find that, is it just me? Or does this sound like someone saying, oh, let's take a break from carrying this 5 pounds up this staircase?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so tired. It's like, this is what you need to take a break from? Oh, Lacey, don't ever become a men's rights activist.
Oh God.
That is, oh.
Yeah, no, she'd be, she would, yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to actually learn to carry a bit more than just, oh, this award show is, oh my God, the dreadlocks. I'm going to faint now. I mean, that you're going to have to be a little tougher.
Yeah, no, it'd be like, oh, this awards show. What? There's like 3 guys who hang themselves in the bathroom.
It's like, yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I don't know if she's ever had one of her friends commit suicide.
I know.
Over their, the difficulties that they had in getting attention for the issues that they care about.
Yeah. Or if she knows a man who commits suicide, like my family member, or like an in-law family member. In fact, Jonathan, my husband, knows about 3 guys who commit suicide. And yeah, that's hard. That's some hard shit. And the fact that nobody cares is even harder.
Oh, the fact that not just nobody cares, right? But the fact that, when Earl Silverman committed suicide, a feminist came out of the woodwork to essentially blame him for his own predicament and blame him for not being willing to work within a system that's entirely institutionally rigged against him and against any man who's trying to do this. That his 20 years of wrestling with the Canadian government for a single $800 grant over the course of that 20 years, that was just him sabotaging himself, and he was just uncooperative, and he didn't know how to work within the system, and he just, nobody would want to work with somebody like him because he was just unreasonable.
Yeah. I mean,
so I mean, like, his body's not even fucking cold and people are bad mouthing him. Feminists are bad mouthing him.
Yeah, and the thing is that it just strikes me as amazing. Like, she has to take a break from annoying people with petty concerns about media.
Yeah, or manspreading or whatever the fuck it is this week.
Yeah, like somebody's fucking hairstyle, or that their feminism isn't intersectional enough, which I don't even like. What? All right, let's that. I guess that means the feminism that she uses doesn't exploit minorities and other truly oppressed people enough for the sake of white women. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, way to go, way to pinch those oppression pennies there, Lacey.
There you go.
Okay, y'all, have we reached peak problematic yet? You tell me. Let me know your thoughts down below, and until next time, stay braless.
I should probably ignore your thoughts unless they're in line with hers. But have we reached peak problematic, Karen?
We have. I can't.
You can't even.
I'm done.
Yeah. It's just this particular one. I didn't actually really get into the ranting mood today, possibly because I've already done this on my own. But
oh God.
I like how what I've been noticing is a pattern with the feminists that we discuss on the Rantzerker and the Ragening is that they'll set something up and then they'll just back away from it at the end.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, oh, by the way, everybody who disagrees with me is a pig fucking amoral Satan dick worship sucking or
Satanist. Yeah.
Yes. But it's okay to disagree with me. It's like, what?
Always. That's what they do.
Yeah. And then Waldo, what did he do? He did, and at the end, what did he say? I don't even remember. But anyway, it's like,
he pulled the same bait and switch. Mike Rugnetta did that too. He had his video mocking people who disagree with feminists, and then he put up another one that was all backpedaling, and he was like, oh, and I believe this, but conversation is good, and and blah 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 and blah blah conversation blah blah.
Yeah, that's right. It's like you set yourself up and you say, well, all of this shit is problematic, but we don't want to judge or shame people. Yeah. Well, you sort of are. Oh. I'm not gonna judge or shame the people who were. Well, maybe I will a little. You're writing sucks, Lugmeyer writers. Your writing sucks, but aside from that, I'm not gonna be like, oh, you're fucking immoral people.
Well, but here's the thing, right? If something is so important to you, right, that it's because it's problematic. If it's so important to discuss and so important to try and work against, why wouldn't you engage in shaming and judging? I mean, if it's actually important, I mean, like, I absolutely any woman who decides that because she was married to that millionaire for 7 months, she's entitled to half of everything he owns. Yeah, I feel free to judge her and shame her. Right? That's important to me. It's a big deal, right? Yeah, okay, Miley's dreadlocks, right? Oh, it's such a big deal. We shouldn't shame anybody over it. Like, well, if it's not a big enough deal to make anyone feel bad about it, then why would you even give a shit? Doesn't that mean that it's like a completely trivial issue? You know,
Yeah.
I would shame a woman for making a false rape accusation. I would judge a woman and the system that allows her to do it and get away with it, right? If she did something like that, that's important. That's worthy of judgment and shame, right? So all she's saying, when she says, "Oh, but it's not about shaming or judging people, and we shouldn't," yeah, it's because your fucking issues are minuscule. Your issues are trivial. Nobody committed suicide over Miley fucking Cyrus's dreadlocks.
Well, you never know. I think that outfit might have incited a suicide or two.
Oh, but just no, probably maybe an intentional blinding, self-blinding, like somebody stabbed themselves in the eye with a pencil or something like that.
Maybe.
But other than that, I can't see anybody jumping off of a fucking building over that.
No, I think that most people would have the temerity to just like, you know what, that's okay. Miley, your outfit is bizarre and it looks like sausage.
As long as I can laugh at it, it's okay.
Exactly. All right, I think that let us adjourn to the end now. Okay, so if you guys enjoyed that and you're listening, please do consider supporting us on Patreon, www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. We will rage against the dying of the light.